5 reasons why Amanda Knox is innocent of murder. Rarely in any murder case has DNA evidence been plain ignored. However, assumptions of a person's private life, character assassination of the defendant, and a state prosecutor obsessed with satanic cults blended to make a perfect storm of a wrongful conviction and imprisonment of an innocent woman. This is the story of Amanda Knox, and the 5 reasons she is innocent of murder. On the 20th of September 2007, Amanda Knox, a 20-year-old college student, moved into Via della Pergola 7, a ground-floor apartment in Perugia, Italy, to spend an academic year abroad for her studies. Knox lived with 3 other women, one being the murder victim, Meredith Kercher, a British exchange student. On November 6, 2007, Knox and her boyfriend Raffaele Sollecito were arrested for Kercher's murder. Reason 1. DNA evidence. Knox had spent the night at her new boyfriend's apartment the night of the murder. On November the 2nd, Knox returned to her apartment to take a shower. She noticed a blood drop on the basin and a partial footprint in blood on the bathroom mat outside the shower. The toilet had also been used and unflushed. Knox found this odd and knocked on Kercher's locked door. Getting no reply, Knox went back to Sollecito's apartment, and they both went back to the crime scene to see if they could open Kercher's door. They unsuccessfully tried to break into the bedroom, leaving it noticeably damaged. Sollecito proceeded to call the police. He was recorded telling them there had been a break-in with nothing taken, and the emergency was that Kercher's door was locked, she was not answering calls to her phone, and there were bloodstains in the bathroom. What evolved after the police and forensic units arrived was nothing short of a forensic debacle of cross-contamination and inadequate evidence chain of custody procedures. And all of it was caught on camera. Investigators were seen handling various items of evidence with the same latex gloves and without tweezers, passing items of evidence to multiple investigators before putting them in evidence bags, and using a bra clasp found nearby 6 weeks after the murder as a crucial piece of evidence in their prosecution. This amateur and incompetent forensic work didn't end there. Kercher was sexually assaulted, and the authorities had taken swabs from the victim to compile a DNA match to Sollecito. This test came out negative, as well as the tests of the contents of the unflushed toilet. The tests pointed to another suspect, a man who would be convicted of sexually assaulting Kercher and was eventually only sentenced to 16 years imprisonment. The DNA evidence against Knox and Sollecito was virtually non-existent, and this was explained away by the prosecution by saying that they had cleaned the scene, leaving only one DNA profile. This DNA profile was linked to Rudy Guede. Reason number 2. Rudy Guede. Rudy Guede was an Ivorian immigrant who moved to Italy with his father at the age of 6. Guede was an unemployed criminal on a crime spree linked to multiple break-ins, including one almost identical to the one at Knox and Kercher's apartment. His previous crimes are of a similar modus operandi to the Kercher case, breaking into a local bartender's apartment, pulling a knife on him, and stealing his credit card. Breaking into a nursery where he was caught with stolen property, a knife, a woman's gold watch, and a hammer used for breaking glass. A second-story break-in at an attorney's office where he threw a large stone through the window and stole a computer, cell phone, and USB sticks. Guede was known to Knox and Kercher, but only as an acquaintance, and had visited the apartments before the murder. He became a suspect in the Kercher murder investigation after his bloody palm print was discovered on the pillow under her body, and bloody shoe prints in the room where she was killed. His DNA was found while testing the rape swabs from Kercher's body. Further DNA was found on her bra, jacket, and purse. His DNA was also linked to feces left in the toilet. Guede fled Italy and was arrested shortly after and brought to trial and convicted of sexually assaulting Kercher. Although the forensic evidence pointed to Guede as the killer, the Italian authorities had already made the bold statement, "I have to compliment our men and our women, the interpreters, that in 4 days and 4 nights, with professionalism and integrity, have resolved the case." The DNA evidence implicating Guede was not immediately disclosed to the defendants, and the authorities hid the DNA results from Judge Mattieni, who on November the 9th decided on the basis of the prosecution's evidence to remand the defendants in jail pending trial. Reason 3. The prosecutor. Giuliano Manini was tasked to lead the prosecution team who charged Knox and Sollecito with the murder of Kercher. Manini had, up to that point in his career, been involved in some controversial and illegal practices during the investigations of high-profile cases. The Knox case would be no different. Manini's theory that Knox, Sollecito and Guede murdered Kercher as part of a satanic sex ritual was fabricated and leaked to the press before any proof or evidence was put forward, alluding to it. The satanic cult theory had crept into one of his previous cases where 20 people were arrested and an investigation of 10 years was thrown out of court for having no basis of fact. Manini was charged with illegal wiretaps, forging audio evidence, and abuse of power. His sensationalized theories were a concocted effort to assassinate the character of Knox and show a non-existent motive for murder. Before and throughout the trial, Manini would try to solidify his case by leaking sensational and hypersexualized stories about Knox to the press, further demonizing her in the eyes of the public. Manini had continually stated that the behavior of Knox was an indication of her guilt. An author commented that Manini's case was based on lies, superstition, and crazy conspiracy theories, and that his own interrogation of a previous case by Manini's team was psychologically brutal. Manini's history of fabricating evidence and the conspiratorial nature of his investigations prior to the Knox case should have precluded him as prosecutor of a highly publicized case such as the Kercher murder. Reason number 4. Interrogation methods. Manini has always asserted that Knox's behavior proves her guilt. What he failed to, or had no inclination to realize, is the trauma and psychological damage that Knox endured throughout the investigation and subsequent criminal trials. Edgardo Giobbi, a head investigator, boasted, "We were able to establish guilt by closely observing the suspect's psychological and behavioral reactions during the interrogations. We don't need to rely on other kinds of investigation, as this method has enabled us to get to the guilty parties in a very quick time." These psychological and behavioral reactions were due to the almost immediate aggressive management of Knox at the crime scene. Knox, a 20-year-old student with rudimentary Italian language skills, was, in a matter of hours, thrust into a situation few people can fathom. Finding her roommate murdered in her own home and a hostile reaction by investigators from the onset, unnerved Knox may have led to strange behavior on her part. The forthcoming interrogation techniques would only make her behavior more erratic. Interrogation techniques used on Knox include 1. Asking the suspect to imagine hypothetical scenarios. The interrogators feed the information that they want the suspect to imagine. The suspect gets confused and starts trying to comply with the request being made to imagine the scenarios. Number 2. Knox stated in court that she was repeatedly slapped on the back of her head and called a stupid liar and told repeatedly to remember what happened. Number 3. Refusal of food, water, and sleep during the questioning. Number 4. No legal representation present. Every aspect of the interrogation was illegal and unethical and can explain the trauma responses Knox was going through. Reason 5. Trial by press. The Amanda Knox case was a journalist's dream job. An American murderer, a British victim, and an idyllic Italian town that hadn't had a murder case in 20 years, coupled with the prosecutor's salacious fabricated stories about Knox, had journalists on both sides of the Atlantic printing erroneous articles that damaged Knox's reputation and ability to get a fair trial in Italy. The unfair and character-destroying press releases portrayed Knox as a sex-crazed femme fatale that murdered Kercher in a satanic sex game gone wrong. This narrative was one that the prosecution and their associates in the press would push as a motive for murder. An Italian magistrate summed up the press circus perfectly when he stated, "Here in Italy, trials take place on TV rather than in court." Amanda Knox and Raffaele Sollecito were finally found innocent of murdering Meredith Kercher after being found guilty in 2 trials and spending years in prison. To this day, the Amanda Knox case stands out as one of the biggest miscarriages of justice and has cast a dark cloud over the justice apparatus of both the Italian justice system and the worldwide press coverage of the case. Thank you for watching Bad Things. Hit the subscribe button, like button, and notification bell, and share our channel for our up-and-coming true crimes videos.